Hello, friends. I'm getting everything all hooked up for our live tonight. Let's see. Let's move this just a little bit closer to me. All right. Okay, let's see if my iPad will work with us tonight. Cooperate. That's the word I'm looking for. All right, let's see. Get everything all ready. All right, and then maybe just a smidge this way, and I think we'll be good to go. All right, if you're stopping by, drop a quick comment just to say hello. Get some. See, oh, Philly, where are? See, Facebook doesn't want to show me comments now. What is up with this? All right. Hi, Patsy and Carrie. Hope you guys are having a good night. Ah, there we go. Oh, I like this setup. I haven't seen this before. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for stopping by tonight. We're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of crafting. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. I spent a lot of time in my craft space this past weekend getting a bunch of stuff done. Of course, we have all of our projects being shared in the May release right now, so that's super exciting. I finished those though last week before the weekend started. So I always like getting those taken care of. Let's go ahead though. Let's jump into some crafting. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the Tomb Raider stamp set, and I'm going to be using just the male protagonist character. So we're going to color him up. I've got my Copic markers ready to go. And then we're going to use some of my favorite sort of adventure crypt kind of dies that I could pull from my stash, and we'll use them to put a little scene card together. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, and hello, Leanne. Hope you're having a wonderful night. So we're going to pull, let me see. We're going to start coloring his skin, of course. Let me see if, for whatever reason, though, I have to, refresh whenever new chat comes along. So, all right. So we're going to start with some E04, and I'm going to color that along his hairline to start. Anywhere there would be shadow. I always like to talk about that when I bought this color, I didn't really know what I was going to use it for. It's E04, in my opinion, is like the least fitting of any of the E colors, because honestly, with the cap and even with the ink color, you think that it would exist somewhere in the R's or the RVs. But I bought it. I had no idea what I was going to use it for. And then I started to see that all of these skin blends used E04, not all of them, but most of the ones that I saw. So I was very happy about my purchase. Do under his neck right there. And on the side of his nose, by the cuff of his shirt and down his hand. He's actually wearing a cuff on his wrist here. Awesome. So after E04, let's move on to E11. So we're going to just kind of trace our steps where we put down the E04. I'm just going to kind of extend that out using the E11. Just down his chin, kind of rounding that out. I don't like to use the E04 around the chin. I think it's just a little too dark. We don't need him looking that dark around that area. Do around his nose, under his chin, and then do his arms like that. If anybody has any questions, just drop them on by. I will be checking comments, of course. I'm trying to get used to this new layout. that I just saw on my iPad about Facebook Lives. That looks very nice, but it's not updating my comments, but that's a common issue I have with Facebook. Anyways, E21 is our next color. So I'm just going to kind of go in and keep drawing out that shadow. I was quite lucky. I had an extra long weekend. So we had the holiday on Monday. And so I was off of work. But I was also off of work yesterday. And I haven't had like a personal at-home day off of work in a very long time. I am a person that I typically use time off for like traveling. So I don't typically have a lot of time that I just stay at home and just relax. So yesterday was one of those days. I think the last time I had done that was like the end of June last year. I took a sick day. It was nice just to kind of be home while I felt like the world was revolving around me outside. It's nice to take a personal day like that every once in a while. All right, so I'm going to keep extending that out. And then last color in this portion of my skin blend is going to be E000. And if you've seen me color before, you've seen me use this skin blend countless times at this point. This is my go-to. I love this blend for my like Caucasian skin blends. It works very nicely. It's kind of an old faithful. A lot of colorists use it. Of course, customize it to fit your needs. I always like to talk of this specific blend as like a base for any of your skin blends that are on the lighter side, and you can usually modify it with one or two colors to get different skin tones. It doesn't work for all of them. Talking more about the lighter ones. But if I want them to make them look a little bit more tan, instead of going from E04 to E11, sometimes I'll go to E13, or if I want to go even tanner, I'll go to E15. It just sort of depends on what I'm looking at. All right, we're going to go in with some E04. We're just going to kind of repeat our steps. Just like that. I was thinking today. So I love the fandom that this guy comes from. And it's very nostalgic to me because I loved those films when I was growing up. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what would be so great? They should try rebooting this. Then I thought about it and they did. It didn't go so well. So after that, I'm like, you know what? We'll just be happy with what we got. Hello, Alyssa. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thanks for stopping by. Alyssa and I like to call it release buddies this for the May release. And when I say release buddies, I mean that we were lucky enough to work on the same set. So I loved seeing what Alyssa did with the Leading Lady stamp set. I thought it was really fun. One of the cards that I loved the most. So I think my favorite image from that new Leading Lady stamp set, because that's what I worked on for the release, is I like to call them like the jazz duo. And the image itself is actually the two images together because a little bit of it overlaps. And I love that Alyssa incorporated the slimline film strip die with them with some holographic silver paper. I thought it was really pretty and striking. So go Alyssa. And of course, the whole design team just knocked it out of the park with the release too. All right, next let's do some E21. Just kind of keep drawing those shadows out. Now I am doing my process, which is called coloring twice. Self-coined by me, not originated by me though. And when I say color it twice, what I mean is that I color my image once from light to dark, and then I do it a second time from light to dark on most things except hair. Hair I do a little different. And the reason that I like to color things up twice is because it gives me a very nice saturation of color. And what I mean by saturation is that I get a very deep sort of color. Whenever you're using Copics, the more ink you use, the more saturated your paper becomes and the deeper your color is. The other reason that I really like to color up my images twice is because I personally feel like I get a smoother blend with my colors that way as well. So that's kind of why I like to do it. So let's go back. I saw a couple comments pop up. Oh, Alyssa, you're so sweet. We both, I think, did a fantastic job doing that leading lady set justice. So, no, I'm gonna set that back off. All right. Oh, it's no big deal, Christian. I just started about 10 minutes ago, and I'm just starting with my standard sort of skin blends. So you did not miss too much other than just some chit chat about the weekend and whatnot. But I hope that you get caught up on your own account and you're going to be able to put something cute together. I know you will. All right, so that was R22, and we're going to move on to some R20, which is what I like to use for my blush. I kind of change up my blush the way that I do it. I also like when I'm coloring up an image, I don't like to do blush like in the center of a cheek. I like to do it very close to like the skin's edge and just kind of build it in a little bit. I don't know, for whatever reason, I find that works best for me, but I have seen some really cute ways that people use like the center of the cheek method of coloring up blush to make their image look like adorable. It's also a really cute idea whenever you're working with, in my opinion, like wintry or festive images, because there's something rosier about having like that like circle for blush. You'll know what I mean if you see an example. But I like to just go ahead and do it from the edge of the skin in. Kind of blend up this E00. I feel like I might have a little bit of an ink smudge by his mouth, but it's nothing that substantial. I've dealt with so much worse, so, which is surprising. Usually that's not something I deal with this ink and these markers. So, all right, so I've got my skin all situated. I'm gonna move my markers up there. Let's get them out of the way. Next, let's color up his hair, and we're just gonna do a standard brown hair blend. So we're gonna start with E49, and I'm just gonna kind of part his hair. And we're just going to kind of arch the strokes. And then we'll do from there, and then bring it in from the sides. In addition, he's got a little bit of hair over on this side. So I'm just going to kind of bring that up like that. And then he's got this little bit down here. So I'm just going to kind of do some little strokes and work on the left side, and then go up the curve of his hair. Let me bring that out just a little further. Awesome. And then we're gonna go, he's got this little bit over here, so I'll bring that up, and then going from the side of his head in, like that. And then like that. Awesome. Now, I talk a lot about like the behind the scenes of when I do a Facebook Live, and maybe I think today I want to give you guys just a little bit more of a understanding why sometimes when you comment, I can't comment back right away, and it's kind of frustrating because it used to be a lot more convenient. Also, side note, I'm going to multitask, and I'm going in right now with some E59 for his hair. But I started doing Facebook Lives actually my very first Facebook Lives were with Kindred, and I started them when the pandemic started, so back in 2020. I want to say it was April. And it used to be really nice and cohesive that I could see your comments as they were coming across my screen, and they would stay there. And that's wonderful. Now, and it's changed over time, And now I can only see your comments for like a split second, and then they disappear. And I have to like manually refresh the screen, which is fine. I have no problem doing it. It just makes me kind of stop my crafting process so I can tap and check. So that's why sometimes if you comment, you don't get a response from me for a couple minutes, because I like to make break points during my Facebook Lives where I can go ahead and be like, all right, we're going to check comments. So like right now, we're going to check comments. Let's see what I missed. Hello, Chris is here. Thanks so much for stopping by. And Leanne's excited for the new release. I don't blame you, Leanne. It is super fun. It's so much art themed stuff, but there's a lot more to offer too. We're going to move on to some E57. Oh, and thanks, Christian. I know you guys are always so understanding, so I don't want anyone thinking like, oh, Justin's sitting here talking about it because someone gave him a hard time. No, nobody did. Nobody gave me a hard time. You guys are always wonderful. I have done many Facebook Lives at this point, and my Kindred family is always so easygoing and helpful with lives that I appreciate you all. And I appreciate you for giving a moment just to talk about that. But yeah, I love doing this. I wish that there were ways that it was a little bit easier, that I could keep track of everybody's comments. But I can't, and that's okay. We work with what we have, you know. We're going to move on to some E55. I'm going to start extending those strokes a little bit, just like that. All right, just like that. And I really enjoy this hair blend for brown hair. So this is E49, E59, E57, E55, and then I finish off with E53. And I start with dark to light, and then I go light to dark. So we're gonna go in with E53, and we're actually gonna be using some of these colors for his t-shirt as well. He's going to be all doused in earth tones. He's not a lot of color going on with this guy, a lot of earthiness, which makes sense. You know, I mean, he's like a 1920, I don't remember the exact year. We're going to say like the 1920s. Might be a little earlier than that though. Just sort of adventurer. And I feel like khakis and suedes are very just sort of like rugged leather is the vibe that we're going for. So we're going to go back in with some E55, and I'm going to extend out some of these strokes of hair. I'm not going to do too crazy. Now, the reason that when I do hair, the second time that I color it, I go light to dark is because I talked before about when I color twice that I always go dark to light, but that helps me get a really good blend. When I'm doing hair, I'm not really trying to blend it per se. I'm really trying to keep these strands of hair intact and visible because it adds some really great texture to your image. So I found that when you go from light to dark, it's easier for you to keep those strands of hair, the texture visible. So that's why I do it that way. Kind of adding that in, and then I can like start and stop at any point if I wanted to. All right, and let's go in with some E59. I might stop after this because I think the E49 is a little dark. I'll just kind of tilt it. All right, and just kind of go up, up, up like that. And then, all right, just kind of like that. I think that's pretty good. We're going to keep him just like that for now. We've got some great strands of hair going. Let's check our comments. All right, we are good. All right, let's move on to his shirt. Yeah, we'll do his shirt first. So I'm going to go in his shirt. I thought at first his shirt was white. And it is kind of, but it's not really. It's like that linen sort of white, and linen whites have that beiginess to them. So I knew when I saw the beige that I didn't really want to color him up so that his shirt was like gray. So I'm going in with some E55 very lightly wherever there would be a shadow. So under the collar of his shirt. All right. Awesome. We'll go. You know what, Diana? I have found that sometimes that can cause your hair kind of look a little on the muddled side, which is okay, but I understand that for some people that's not what you're going for. I do think practice makes perfect. So find an image that the hair is kind of on the more simple side. He's actually a really good one to pick from. Also, a really good image to practice hair with is that Jazz Duo from the Leading Ladies stamp set, particularly the lady on the right side, because she just has straight hair and it's a nice big section of it that you can just kind of practice your strokes for hair in that. So keep that in mind. But I like to say, we're going to move on to some E53 next to try and keep this nice and light. Go ahead and just like practice. Practice is going to make perfect. I used to not color strands of hair, Diane. I used to just kind of let it be just its own shape of sorts. And that's fine too. But I remember there was a point where I'm like, you know what, Justin, let's try and add a little bit more texture to your hair. And I just tried it. And I didn't love it. But I was like, there's got to be a way that it's going to look pretty. I know, like, I remember when I had joined the team, I was always so in awe, and I still am when Mindy shows any of her coloring because it's so detailed and just saturated and beautiful. And she's always done really great hair blends. And I'm like, you know what? Like, just keep practicing, and one day it's going to look the way that you want it to. And I've gotten there, but I'm there with straighter hair. When it comes to textured hair, I feel like I still have a lot to learn. I was very proud of myself though, because talking about this release with like the Leading Ladies, there is that red-haired orphan girl that's included with the stamp set. And I was very proud of how I was able to get her hair all blended up. And she definitely does not have straight hair. She is a very curly redhead. So, all right, so we've got this pretty colored up. This is pretty. All right, now let's do his pants. And I've just, and I'm only doing this once because it's a lighter colored shirt. That's my other tip and trick is whenever I color up whites, I like to color them up once. So anything I want to be white, color it up one time, because if you color it up twice, it's not going to be a light color. It's going to look more like the markers that you're using. For example, I don't want his shirt to look too brown, so we're just going to keep it colored that one time. So, all right, now we're going to go in, we're going to color up his pants, which we're going to do khaki, but there are a lot of different kind of khakis, and his is that very like caramely sort of khaki. I almost feel like a schoolboy khaki is how I would call it, because I don't think that it's something I see very common with like adult men aside from him, but he was in a different era, so that's okay. So we're going to go down with some E37. Also, any opinions expressed during this Facebook Live are solely those of the creators and not Kindred Stamps. So if anyone disagrees with my opinion of khaki pants, I gravely apologize. I like khakis. I just, I guess, have opinions for the different colors of them and the variations. All right, next let's go in. Let's do some E35. All right, we're just going to go down the legs. We're doing a Facebook Live tonight. It reminds me that I have to let Heather know when I'm going to be doing my lives next month. So that's exciting. Sorry, one of my markers is just a little on the dirty side, so I'm cleaning that off really quickly. So that'll be fun. You'll get me next month for some more crafty fun. I just have no idea what I'll be making. I never do. I usually don't know what I'm doing for a Facebook Live until 24 hours before, I would say. Usually, but I don't like to plan too far in advance because then it gives me a lot of opportunity to change my mind, which is not something that I want to do. Hello, Heidi. I hope you're having a great night. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Am I missing any more comments? Is anyone critiquing my khaki opinion? Nope, not yet. But like I said, feel free to. I get it. All right, and then go in with some E30. It does end up being a 5 color blend, which I found that for pants works very nicely. I have a blue jean blend, which is all of the B9s, and I just feel like all 5 of them being used at once just works great. All right, so let's go in again. So we're gonna do E37. I might add a little bit more texture this time. Just kind of go in, add a little bit of a tick mark. And go up the sword, just like that. All right, and sometimes just adding those little bits of folds really adds some life to your character. All right, so we're gonna go with some E35. And then let's go with some E34. And some E31. And see how those little tick marks I made for fold, so they really start to add just a little bit of liveliness to this image. They're small, they're subtle, they don't change everything, but it's just, I like to believe that in crafting that the wow factors come from the attention to details. Little improvements, little differences like this, in my opinion, go a very long way. So, all right, so we've got that all situated. Let's work on his boots, and also we'll work on his straps. But his straps are going to be similar to his boots, just a little darker. So we're going to go in with some E29. And then, let's see. This. Let's do just the sides of the gun holster. Just kind of little dots. Okay, we've got those. Next, let's go in with some E18, because I wanted to keep this kind of on the redder side, you say. Kind of starting to draw this in. I love when I reach for a color of my Copics that I don't use often, and I would consider E18 one of them because I use so many of the other E's, and my nib is just so still pointed. I love that because I really should be in the habit of replacing more of my nibs than I do. I typically wait until there's a problem, but there's something to be said about a nice, new, pointy nib. And then let's go to E15. Start moving this all together, Actually, everything is really coming together with him. He doesn't have too much left to color after this, which is something I love. And then we'll finish this off with E13. All right. And then just get his belt, and then his shoes, and then we're going to color him up a second time. I've been doing a lot of sort of red browns lately. I know I just was talking about how I haven't been reaching for like my E18 a lot. But I've been noticing that with some of my images, I'm not wanting to use you on this boot. Sorry, sir. I'm just going to do on the top half. But I like the use of the red browns. They're just a little more warm, I guess, is what I'm going to go with. I also think redder browns are kind of on the sportier side as well. Kind of gives me a little bit of like a bomber jacket sort of feel-ish, depending on what your bomber jacket looks like, you know? Coloring this all up. Get his cuff. E15. Boot. Perfect. And then E13. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. Let me just make sure this is nice and smooth. All right, let's make sure I'm not missing any comment. Oh, where did they all go? Oh, I can just touch the screen. That's great. Okay, so we've got that. Let's do his little belt buckle. That'll be real quick and easy. We're just going to use two colors. We'll do it once. We'll do Y26 and Y21. She's got a little bit of a gold belt buckle. Let's do the handles of his gun and also the bottom handle of his sword. So we're just going to kind of do his guns like that and then finish that off. Let's color that up once again, and then we just got to do the metal part of the sword. Is I think what's all that's left. Great. Okay. Last but not least, let's do his sword, and we're going to start with some C3. I've, in the past, started with C4, and I think that's just a little too dark. So we're just going to kind of go in. We're going to do C1. And then C00. We'll repeat these because these are grays and we want them to look as such. So let's get a good saturation going. We're going to do some C3. C1. and C00. Perfect. We are all done coloring, so I can go ahead and put my markers away. Sorry about the noise. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I say that as my marker shoots across my desk. All right, let's see. Are we missing any comments? Nope, we're good. So we'll move on to some fussy cutting next, and then we've got some scene building. All right, so we've got markers. You know what? It's probably time for a water break too, so let's do that. And let's go ahead, just wipe this down. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I think he turned out really nicely. I've been wanting to color this setup for a while. I've been kind of, like, not even design team related. I've just been trying to work through some of the sets that I didn't get a chance to work with. And so, like, I just colored up the insect stamp set like a week ago. So I have all of those images, and I cannot wait to put them on a card. Particularly that little caterpillar. He was my favorite to color up. Him and the moth. Oh, so pretty. Oh, thank you so much, Karen. His hair turned out really nice. Yeah, it is practice. I always like to say people, and this is me trying to be humble. I'm not sitting here saying I get compliments all the time, honestly. But whenever someone comments on my coloring and about like, oh, I wish like, I need, like, how did you get it to turn out like this? I'm always like, practice. It's just a lot of practice. I have like so many posts just on Instagram alone of cards, and so many of them use Copic marker images. So I consider each and every image, I consider him practice. They're all practice. Just keep going. You'll get it. You'll get the swing of it eventually. And also remember, you're your harshest critic. So even when you feel like it doesn't look that great. Oh, that is a great idea, Patsy. You've been sharing a lot of fantastic cards lately. So it's cool to see you using so many different stamp sets and putting them to use. Finger sticky though. That concerns me. Only for the reason that I don't want the stickiness to get somewhere on my image. It does sound like it, Patsy. I love that sort of just like, you know what, like craft for you. Craft in a way that makes you happy, or a way that makes you use something that you bought and it's been sitting around. I don't even want to sit and think about how many craft supplies I have that I have not touched. The truth, okay, here's a story while I'm cutting this guy out. I knew I had him. I knew I had this set. I knew it was in my house. And I could have sworn I had already organized it and put it away. Well, I was wrong. So I'm like, son of a bucket, where did it go? So I have in one of my guest bedrooms in the house, I have a whole dresser full of cards. And on top of the dresser, I have a couple boxes. And one of the boxes I have on top, they're all crafty boxes, but one of my boxes is literally what I like to call incoming craft supplies. And what I mean by that is that it is a box of craft supplies that I have acquired that I have not used and I have not put away. And I was like, oh, son of a bucket. It's going to be in that box, isn't it? And so I went through it. It wasn't. This stamp set wasn't in that box. Well, then I realized I had a second box that was in my craft space that I don't even know why, but it's like a second intake box of craft supplies. And it used to be a box of not like an intake box, but like if I was crafting a lot, instead of putting everything away at once, it was my box that would hold all of my craft supplies that had to be put away. Don't do that. Don't be me. Don't do it, because then it doesn't get put away, and then you just have a box of things that you have to organize again. So I did that, but it was in that second intake box. Why? I don't know. That's just where it was. But let me tell you, I was mentally preparing myself to go on this live and be like, guess what? We're not using this stamp set today, y'all. But we did. So I found it. That's great. But the moral of the story is I have bought a lot of things that I haven't used yet, and I thought that this image was amongst them today. There we go. That's my story. All right, so we've got him all cut out. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to set him off to the side. I've got him in this little dish right here. And now I want to get into some ink blending. So I had some ideas. I have a question, though, for y'all, because I'm curious. I want to know what your favorite Kindred Stamps paper pads are. Let me know in the comments. Type whatever first one comes to mind. But I'm going to have a follow-up question to that. And that is, do you own any Kindred Stamps paper pads that you surprisingly used a lot more than you have? And let me know what that one is as well. Reason being is, falling into that second category, I have this grunge paper pack. And the amount of times I reach for this is ridiculous. Because I don't really think of my style as like, this definitely has some like gothic-y sort of grungy horror vibes to it. I've used it for so many projects. And particularly, I love these multicolored ones on the bottom. So in the spirit of that, I have trimmed down one of the patterns. This is the one with like the lattice on the back of it. We'll call it like a crisscross lattice of sorts, because I wouldn't call these crosses, but there's something of that measure. This gives me underground tomb vibes. And I was like, you know what? This is really going to work. But what else am I going to use? Well, then I was like, what about that jungle scene die? So I die cut that. Because, yeah, it gives me jungle vibes, but it also just gives me like messy tomb tunnel or messy cavern of sorts that when you ink blend it, it could look really cool. And then I thought maybe we should layer them. So maybe I should die cut 2 of them and just play around with it and see how it looks. So I'm thinking that I might do like this, or I could like flip it and go like that. I don't know if I like that, but maybe like that, just to get like a fun, like sort of messy pattern. I don't know. And then we've also got to bring in some spider webs, but I think I'm going to put the spider webs like between the sets. I don't know. I'm going to kind of just play around with it and come up with something, because I just want it to look like he's like fighting his way through like a cavern or a tomb that hasn't been touched in 1,000 years. So bear with me. So we're going to start, and Karen says she loves grunge. Or goth vibes. She says she loves goth vibes. I'm sorry. Not putting words in your mouth. All right, so we're going to go in, and I'm going to take one of those paper inking palettes that I've used in a previous live. And let's get that situated. And I did, after my last live, someone had recommended washing it with Dawn soap. And it helped a lot. Problem is, it's dirty again. But it should stick. We shouldn't have a problem. So we're going to go in. Let's put this down. And I just grabbed a handful of brown distress inks, or distress oxide inks, and we're just going to go with it. So we're going to go in, let's see. Let's grab frayed burlap. And I just kind of want to, I don't know what I want to do. You just kind of go in, darken it up, go in, and then maybe just kind of get like splotchy with other blends. I don't know. I agree, Alyssa. I love the cobwebs too. I have a tip to share with the cobwebs, because I personally feel that adhering it to your projects is a task in its own. So I have a shortcut. All right, so let's go in I love that. I love that it also has like kind of a splotchiness to it already. All right. Cool. So we've got that. Let's go in with, I don't know, do we want some vintage photo? Do I want to skip and just go right to like ground espresso? I don't know what I want to do. We're just having fun with it. We're going in with some different color. Let's go in with some vintage photo. Kind of warms it up a little bit. Which I don't mind the warmth. But then I can go back in with my frayed burlap blender and just kind of make sure I've got no sort of harsh lines. Can I ask what this pad is called? This is called a paper inking palette. It's literally, and I don't even know if anyone has said this. This is like a 5x6 photopolymer stamp, and it just holds your your paper in place. And I've really gotten into the habit of using it quite a bit. So that's what it is. This one's by Picket Fence Studios. There's a handful out there. Let's go in with some Scorched Timber, which is the latest release color of the Oxide inks and not just the Distress family in general. So we go in. This is a nice dark brown. It's got a little bit of green to it too, which makes it really sort of earthy. Browns are earthy by nature, of course, but this one is a little extra. All right, let's see. Let's go back in. Just kind of blend it out, just like that. All right, cool. Let's do maybe a quick little clean. I think I want to, do I want to use the other one? Let's see. I mean, this already looks pretty good and grungy. I don't know. Does it need the second one? We can see which way we think it makes the most sense, and if we decide at the last minute we don't want it, we can remove it. I think that sounds like a good plan. All right, so let me wipe off my mat, check for comments. We're good. Wipe off my mat. I'm gonna have to do a nice wipe of it because if it's wet, it doesn't grip. Of course, we'll splatter and whatnot and make things real nice and grungy. Drop the spider web. Get to that in a second. All right, so let's see. If I was to layer these, how do I want to layer that? I kind of like it like this. Yeah, it's going to be like that. Okay, it's good to know. So we're going to use this side. And I'm going to make this darker. So we're not going to go in with frayed burlap. We're going to go right into vintage photo, I guess. But we're also going to bring some black in with this one too, just to kind of darken it up. All right. All right, just like that. And now we'll use some ground espresso because that'll keep it darker, but it'll also keep that warmth. Let's see. All right. Go back in with some vintage photo, just kind of smooth out these edges. All right, and then let's do some black soot. Let's see, I need to get a brush. And darken it up. And I'm using Distress ink because when it comes to black soot, I use it a lot with the oxide, but the oxide does not get as dark as the Distress ink does. So I end up using the Distress ink of the black soot quite a bit. So just kind of going in, blending it up. Kind of do a little bit of dark over here. Just kind of dim it a little bit so it looks a little on the setback. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Okay, so let's see when this is layered, what are we dealing with? Ooh, that's pretty. We're not done with it, but I like it. Okay, let's set these off to the side. Let's clean up our pad a little bit. And let's distress our spider web. Okay, so clean this up. Now, I'm gonna probably have to bring this up now because I'm using this on a surface that may not work very nicely. But I use double-sided adhesive on the back of my my spider web. You know what, we're not even gonna use this because I'm afraid that it's gonna pull my adhesive off and then I'm gonna be dancing around it and we don't need that. So we're gonna put our paper inking palette away because I don't need it right now. We're gonna put that, put it in its pocket, say thank you for your service today. I'll see you very soon. Okay, so I'm going in with my spiderweb craft die, and I decided to use pumice stone because it's got some good earthiness to it, even though it's a gray. And why did that not pop through? Let's see, I just gotta get that little bit out. Awesome. And we're just gonna kind of distress this, make it grungy, a grungy spider web. I don't want it being stark white. Just kind of going in. Da, da, da. Nice and grungy. Awesome sauce. Okay. Cool. Okay. That's done. So let's go back to our different jungle scene dyes, just so you can see how they're a little different. But what I would like to do is splatter them a couple times. So let's push those to the side a little bit. And then we're gonna water it, pick it up with a brush. Let's protect our man. Now it's not going to show up as much on the other one because it's so much darker, but that's okay. I like splattering with oxide inks because I feel like they dry nicer. Sometimes the distress inks sort of seep into your paper, but not the oxides. They sit nicely on top. All right, so we've got that decent splatter. Now, let's clean this really gently. And then I'm also going to do just some paper splatter as well. This is Sparkle Silk, just clear Sparkle Silk by Spellbinders. to add a little bit of mysteriousness to our background. All right. Set that aside to dry. We'll come back to it in a minute. All right, while that's drying, let me clean my mat off, put my inks away. We can work on a sentiment. I think that sounds like a great idea. Because our sentiment's really kind of like the last thing we got to do before putting it all together. So I'm going to grab my Misty. And I'm going to also clean this brush because I want to make sure I don't forget to clean it the next time I use it. All right, so I've got some just sort of cocoa brown paper. It's very much like a hot cocoa color. I think that's actually what it's called. And then from the stamp set, these stamps the sentiments are just kind of punny and like appropriate for this stamp set. You're not going to find you're not going to find one that says happy birthday or Merry Christmas, anything of that. But I really like the right side of the river is whatever side you're on. And I think we're going to do that. So let me line that up. I think I just kind of want to do it. Let me see. Just kind of as like a little box of sorts. I don't even know if I'm going to fussy cut it. We'll see. Maybe I will fussy cut it. I don't know what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to use my anti-static tool, as I always do when I heat emboss. I always like to press it down at first. Move that a little closer. You know what? I think it has to be that close. All right, perfect. Now let's go in. I've got my embossing ink pad that's very well loved. Gotten a lot of great use out of it. Stamp it a second time. Shouldn't need more than 2 stamps. And then let's go ahead and use some Snowfall embossing powder. All right, perfect. Let's get this off. And we'll heat set it. Oh! And we just dropped one of my jungle pieces. Awesome. Set that to the side. I'll do a quick clean. Had a little bit of schmutz in my bottom of my Misty, but that's okay. And we'll put our sentiment stamp away. Oh no, just booted me off. Sorry, y'all. Let's see, just kicked me off of my Facebook Live on my iPad. That's weird. Maybe it only does it for like an hour. Let's see. There we go. It's discontinued. Use paper splatter. This works nicely. I'm sorry about the sparkle silk. I thought it was still available. Paper splatter is very similar to the sparkle silk. The only thing is I haven't found a clear one yet. I'll link this in my blog post. I'm very sorry. I didn't know that it was discontinued, Karen. I'm so sorry. And thank you for letting me know you still see me, Christian, because, oh, yeah. I don't think it was an interruption in my broadcast, but my iPad just, like, shut off. And I'm like, okay, whatever. All right, so let's trim this down. So we're going to go ahead, just kind of eyeball it. And then cool. I just have this nice little sentiment strip that I don't think I'm going to do anything to. I don't think I have the attention to detail to do anything further with it. All right, so now we can get into some card construction. So, let's see. I want to do this like this. So I should adhere these together. This shouldn't be that bad, even though there's a lot of bits. So I've got, we'll adhere the back of this. Oh, that's really sad that Sparkle Silk is discontinued. Y'all know I always try to use things that are obtainable. Sounds like that is not one of them. Okay, so now we'll go ahead. We're going to adhere this directly on top the best way we can, which is like this, I guess. All right. So now I'm going to use block to press down, get a nice even blend. And then I just realized I didn't use my, you know what, this can go right across the top like this. Or I can put it as a background piece. Actually, the background piece works nicely. So let's go ahead. We're gonna take this. So I did use some double-sided adhesive. So I should just be able to remove it like a sticker. And then put this nicely into place. Just kind of press it down, just like that. And then, oh, I don't have big scissors. Where are my big scissors? Just like this. Perfect. And then what we'll do is put this directly on top. I love how that peeks through and makes the spider webs in the back. Okay, so what we'll do now is kind of put some adhesive on the back of this. And then, let's see, how do I want this? I think I want it kind of like that. And just kind of shuffle it into place. Just sort of like that. Press this down. Oh, Christian's almost all caught up. Yay, you. All right. Now I do have to trim my edges just a wee little bit, and that's okay. Just like this. Oh, the Flames pack. That's a good one, Christian. I didn't think about that one. I think I gotta just trim this very carefully with my scissors or my trimmer. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And then I do want to go ahead, let me grab a piece of black cardstock. I do want to grab some black cardstock just as a last effort. So what I'm going to do, I do want to mat this on some black cardstock just because it'll give it a nice little frame. Let's see. Just let me adhere it. You don't have to trim it down like I did. You do whatever works best for you. Like I said, this is just going to give my project a nice little frame of sorts. Not needed, just a preference. Just if I cut it too short and anything's peeking out. Awesome. Just like that. And then we're going to add our sentiment and our guy, and we're just about done. Sorry, let's go work with some, whatchamacallit, foam tape. And then thank you so much, Patsy. I think this is really fun. It's a fun way to layer our dies, especially with that little like peeping through of the cobweb in the back. I just think it's really fun. All right, we got to grab our Explorer. Let's do that. Little tip, I like to use non-stick glue when I'm not non-stick glue. I like to use non-stick scissors when I'm working with adhesives. Makes it easier to cut. All right, let's add a little bit more. That's okay. Place an order, Karen. It's no big deal. Or, you know, at least let it sit in your cart until release day, since that way you can cut down on shipping. All right, so we're just going to kind of put him right down here, because this kind of creates a nice little corner for him. Now, you could jazz this up with some more knickknacks and rock die cuts or grassy die cuts. I thought about doing grass along the bottom, but just decided against it. You could even add a ground if you wanted to. I decided against that as well. I thought I had enough going on. So we'll go ahead and we'll put him right there. And then the right side, just put this like right up there. Right? Yeah, we'll do it like, just want to make sure it's nice and even. Was that even? Would we call that even? No. There we go. Is that right? That looks good to me. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's pop this on a card base. It's the wrong way. And I think I just want to pop just a couple sequins on. I don't want to do anything too crazy or too... I just don't want to overwhelm the card. So let's do just a couple sequins. One there. These are just brown and gold sequins from my stash. I actually think I bought these from the Kindred Stamps website many years ago. Let's see. I think they're called like no, not so heavy metal. That's what they're called. I'm like rock and roll. I'm like, no, but it's something music related. Well, that's a mess. I'll clean it. Let's see. That's good. I just got to put them in place and we'll be done. This would look better like that. See, I always fidget with my sequins because I never think there's an actual good place to put them. There we go. Right there. Okay. Sorry about the fidgeting. We're getting to the end. Press these into place. Y'all, I think we did it. All right. Sorry I got quiet. You know I always do during the last couple minutes of my live. But we have used the Tomb Raider stamp set to make a super fun sort of cavernous adventure card. And let's just talk through once again how we made this card. So I did stamp out and color up the main male protagonist from the Tomb Raider stamp set. And we colored him up with some Copic markers, fussy cut him out, and then we created a background using the jungle scene craft die, the spiderweb craft die, and layered it on top of one of the patterns from the grunge paper pack. I think this worked really nicely. Christian had a great idea too, that you could use the smoke paper pack or flames paper pack. I apologize. It looks like smoke kind of, and use the gray pattern in the back. So I think that would work really nicely as well. We also went ahead and heat embossed our sentiment, which is the right side of the river is whatever side you're on, with some snowfall embossing powder. It turned out really cute. I love all of these different layers. I think that this is a nice sturdy card to send to somebody, maybe for a little bit of encouragement. Maybe you've got a friend who also loves this adventure. I don't know. I just think it's super cute. So thank you all so very much for stopping by tonight and crafting with me. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. And don't forget, the May release event is going on right now. We have one last sneak peek tonight. Audra, I don't know if you posted it already, and if you did, I'm sorry. But we've got one last sneak peek to go. Who knows? Join the group. You might find some opportunities to win some Kindred Stamps credit for the upcoming release, or maybe there's a special announcement. You never know. So be sure to stop on by, and that release will be going live on Friday. This is Friday, May 31st at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So those of us on the East Coast and East Standard Time, you're going to be looking at 11 a.m. Those of us like myself in the Central Time Zone, that's 10 a.m. Mountain Time Zone, that's going to be 9 a.m. on Friday. And we're close to Friday. So thank you all once again for stopping by. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I can't wait to get crafty with you soon. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. Have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.